talk a little bit more about what he's been doing the last number of months to prepare for this wildfire season. And as I do that and as I walk away, I just want to acknowledge his work on those 35 high priority vegetation management projects that we identified that impact 200 vulnerable communities in the state of California. Their team delivered on all 35. They got those projects done. These are fire break projects. These are projects that had a socio-economic frame, not just a frame around acuity of concerns in terms of high-risk, vulnerable areas for fire suppression, but also on the basis of communities that don't necessarily have the resources that many others have, making sure that in trailer parks, around trailer parks, or where people don't have access to vehicles where they can move quickly or don't have other resources, that we also prioritize those individuals as part of this 35 cohort. And I just want to thank Tom for identifying that a year ago, moving on that, and finally delivering on that last project, which was up there near Highway 17 around Santa Cruz. Finally, that project, which was a stubborn one, finally got done. Thank you, Tom Porter. Happy to take a question.
Well, thank you, Governor, and thank you for all the recognition. And it goes without saying that the troops on the ground are the ones that really make this all happen. That is a mix of CalFire, Forest Service, BLM, other DOI, Department of Interior agencies, as well as our local government partners that are there every single day putting these fires out and keeping them small, as Governor mentioned. So I wanted to start out with kind of what we're looking at. We are now at the point of turning the corner. We are in peak fire season. That means that fires aren't going to just go out as the sun goes down. They're going to start burning through the night. They're going to start burning into the chaparral or brush-covered landscape. They're going to start burning into the forest. This is the time of year where fires start to get bigger and more difficult to control. So, the resources the Governor mentioned, the CalFire Hawk behind me. We have 3 that are ready for water dropping today and getting their crews filled out and deployed to the field. We have the rest that are coming online in the next months and a couple of years. What that means is we'll be able to meet that 95% of the time keeping fires 10 acres or less. And we will work with all of our partners to ensure that that is what we continue to do. What we need from you, the public, is a continued vigilance. We have finished the 35 projects. We are continuing with an additional list of projects that follow that. And we are not going to forget that we need to come back and maintain the 35 projects. So this is an ongoing commitment to you, the public, that we will maintain and look to further that effort that was undertaken in the last year. But we need you also to be vigilant, identify fires early, call them in. The cameras work great, but sometimes the phone is faster. So call in fires. Note suspicious activity. Just in this calendar year, just 2020, we have already arrested, and this is only CalFire law enforcement, has already arrested 45 arsonists. 45, just in the 7-month period that we're currently in for this year. That is because of tips that come from you, the public. We need to have that information. And then, as we start to respond to fires, and there are evacuations, there's already been evacuations here and there on some of the smaller fires that we've had thus far. Public is starting to see how those are going to go. Director Ghilarducci will give more detail about that. We need you as the public to wear your mask. Your mask is what's going to keep you safe from infections coming into your community, as well as keep our firefighters and emergency responders safe from taking infection out into their population. We really need you to wear the masks, and we're all wearing masks here today. That is my expectation, that my firefighters are doing the same, and that you, the public, are helping us with that messaging. So we will continue to commit to aggressive initial attack. That is the point in time when we can reduce the impact to wildland fire to the greatest extent. If we can keep fires small, we will do everything in our power to do so. That will reduce the impact on the population, on health, and everything that goes along with it. It'll save budget as well. So what you'll hear is me calling for now painting small fires. We need to put as much retardant on the ground around wildfires as possible, as quickly as possible, in order to keep fires small. Retardant keeps fires small by allowing the time to get fire crews in and cut line around. That is absolutely important. It needs to happen on every single fire, regardless of jurisdiction. We will make it happen. We have the air fleet to do so. With that, I'm going to circle back. Our mutual aid partnership here in California is something that the world aspires to. There isn't any place on earth that has the capabilities that are brought together by our community of local government, federal government, and state government working together seamlessly to keep fires small, but when fires get big, to wrap around and make sure that the fire is taken care of as well as the public. With that, I'm going to turn the mic to Director Ghilarducci. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. So just kind of building on Chief Porter's comment, talking about the mutual aid system and our ability to respond to wildfires. In this particular year, with COVID, a little bit more complexity, the need to make sure that all of our mutual aid responders, all of our firefighters, and the public are aware of what to do when we may have an evacuation and how we're going to do things differently in the event we need to set up an emergency shelter. But that mutual aid system expands to beyond just the firefighters. It includes our law enforcement and sheriffs and highway patrol. It includes our emergency services at the local level, the American Red Cross, the Salvation Army. These are all entities that come together to help us through the process of making sure that all of you are kept as safe as possible during these events. This year, when we have a wildfire, you want to be very, very attuned to what's happening in your community. Pay attention to local authorities. Listen to alerts and warnings. If you're told to evacuate, evacuate. Do not wait. This is very important. There may be conditions because of resource limitations, or we may be wanting this year to move people out of harm's way before fire gets to a particular area. And so we will be informing you of what those fire conditions are in your area. So when you see a red flag warning, when you listen to local authorities about what's happening in your community. If you're told to evacuate this year, we are doing some things a little differently. It may be that we don't put you in a congregate shelter situation. We may be putting you into hotels. We've been working throughout the state with the hotel industry to be able to open up the opportunity of making hotels available for families and individuals to keep people separated so that they're not congregating. In the event that there is an initial shelter where you need to go into what would be a traditional shelter, we are going to be doing some requirements. There will be temperature checks. There will be mandatory mask wearing. We will set up shelters that are separating, putting appropriate social distancing. As the governor mentioned, feeding will be different this year. It won't be sort of buffet style feeding. It will be individual meals or what we call meals ready to eat, and be able to hand those out on an individual basis. There will be enhanced nursing staff or medical staff to ensure that we can account for individuals with access and functional needs, or if there's any other particular problems. And we may be doing some segregating from people who may be COVID positive, separating from people who are not COVID positive. So there's a number of things that we have built into the system. We have built new guidance through our California Department of Social Services, through the American Red Cross, and through the Office of Emergency Services. This was a collaborative effort with our fire and law enforcement community. And we also built around that new evacuation protocols about how best to be able to address individuals in a COVID environment. So a number of things are happening a little bit different this year, but very much important to be able to continue to keep everybody safe and secure. Now, that also extends to our firefighters, and as the governor mentioned, the way we do briefings, the way we feed our firefighters. It's absolutely imperative that we keep our firefighters, our emergency responders, all of the folks that are responding to these wildfires as safe as possible, so that we can make sure that they can get the job done, they can get the fires out, and they can move on and back to their families and back to their fire stations. So this year, be aware, listen to recommendations, and also let me just reassure everybody, we're all coming together on this. We've thought it through, but this is a partnership that also includes all of you. It's not just a government issue. It is also a partnership. So please, have a plan, get a communications plan, understand your evacuation routes where you live, have more than one evacuation route should one become blocked, and listen to authorities as they give you their guidelines. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you.